Hey-o, hey-o, hey-o,
Is that lovely?
hey-o. Yeah. Get closer. Woo! Yeah.
Too close.
Live. We really are live.
Always live now.
From Juneteenth Data Palooza.
It's a sad day.
It's yet another manic Monday edition of Business Pants, joined by the Lord of the BS, Matt Moscardi. Soon, your whole title, Lord of the BS, is really going to come to fruition, right? It's almost ready. Our platform, Board Sabermetrics.
I mean, at noon today, it's supposed to be ready, which is, we're recording at 11:40 a.m. It is platform day for free float. That's what it is.
In today's mushy cucumber,
Oh, I hate a mushy cucumber.
I know,
I really
called Juneteenth 2023, a Juneteenth Board of Directors history lesson in a big, beautiful pile of Juneteenth BS data. Oh, come on.
I mean, look, if we're honest, it's not great.
It's
Not a rosy look at reality.
Look, it's a complicated history in the Western world, but it is important to at least honor the fact that Juneteenth is now a federal holiday, which really, the first question of the day really is, why the hell are we working?
Yeah, what are we doing here?
I don't know, because when the stock market is down, shouldn't we be down?
Yeah, we should be down. But we want to finish this platform, and it's not Juneteenth in the UK where our programmers are. So we're just here to remind you about how data can inform this holiday.
Yeah, and
That's what we're here to do.
we're doing a bit of a service because part of the way I constructed today's
always.
show was that nobody in the business news world wanted to talk about Juneteenth, but so we are.
Yeah. Not only
No, I'm
are
serious.
we-
It's sad. It's really sad.
It's really sad. Yeah.
3 years ago, when the horrific stuff with George Floyd was going on, was that 3 years ago? No, maybe.
Sounds right.
Everyone was talking about it then, but now, if someone's not yelling at a beer can for being trans, nobody wants to talk about
Yeah, that's a
Juneteenth
little bit
anymore,
of,
I guess.
That's a little bit of the reason why I feel like we're here. Like, not to be disrespectful to the holiday itself, but because everyone in this country has decided to be disrespectful of everyone else who's not exactly like them, like a white cisgendered male.
All right, you ready
now
for it?
we're just yelling at them. So
Yeah.
you know what? Let's do the news
Yeah.
and then some depressing data,
Yeah.
and then get out of here. And
Okay,
go
ready?
Celebrate. Okay, let's.
Oh, not that music.
I'm sorry. I don't know.
That's not Juneteenth centric. That sounds like plantation music or something. That sounds like
Oh,
White
how
Devil.
dare
I don't
you.
like that. I never liked that music. All right, here's the problem, Matt. I literally found one Juneteenth headline. Okay,
Real one?
One. No, it's-
Juneteenth
no, it
headline.
is maddening. And ironically, it was from the Business Insider, which had this headline: "The out-of-office message you need if your company finally caught up with the times and gave you Juneteenth off." So ironically, Insider gave its employees Juneteenth off, and they're the only ones to write an article about Juneteenth. I mean, there's so many ironies there.
Their angle was, this is how you should write about why you're off
Okay,
today.
but they're
Come
honoring
on,
the
that's
holiday.
The worst possible
No,
angle.
no, I give them credit.
down.
They're honoring the holiday.
Thumbs
They're
down.
actually talking about it.
If they would they do that for July 4th or for like
I don't know.
Christmas? You're like,
I don't
this
actually
is
know
what
the
you
answer.
should write when you're out of the office on
Oh, you mean-
Christmas.
It's funny, you say July 4th and Christmas. I think, oh, you mean the two white holidays? That's the first thing
That's
I thought
what I'm
of.
talking about. I picked the whitest holidays I could think of.
As a reminder, Juneteenth recognizes the end of slavery in the U.S. June 19th, 1865. Again, which is like, what, 2 or 3 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, right?
That's
it took
correct.
It took
yeah.
like 2 or 3 years.
It took 3
sadly.
years for it to
Idiots.
actually happen. Yeah.
Idiots. All right. Here's the history lesson for today. And by the way, the Business Pants Corporate Theater, I've already discussed this with them. They're already going to start creating material based on this because
I
you know
love it.
what? The corporate theater needs to go start fundraising, getting grant money, and these are types of projects I think that hopefully will work for them. Here's the story. The first black woman to sit on a Fortune 500 corporate board. Okay?
Okay.
That's what the story is. This is out of Fortune magazine. So this
I'm
is
waiting for the
Juneteenth.
punchline.
This is Juneteenth adjacent. No, there's no silliness here. Although this is how sad data is in general in the corporate governance world and the ESG world, especially when a black person is involved. Because according to this article, Matt, a couple of years ago, when you Googled who was the first black woman, on a Fortune 500 corporate board, you got wrong information.
Yeah, well, duh.
They came up with the wrong woman. They came up with someone named Dolores Wharton, who was elected to the board of Michigan Bell Telephone Company in 1974. So there is a networking and board training organization called Black Women on Boards, and they made sure that they posted the correct information. The first black woman on a board was Patricia Roberts Harris, elected to the board of IBM in 1971.
Oh, look, I think actually,
But really, they had to correct Google. They had to correct the internet. I mean, we can't even get that. They can't even honor the right black woman.
I get it, but
Yeah.
but there is something to be said. Like IBM, how far tech has fallen. Because now all we think about is tech bros in Silicon Valley. But tech was IBM with the first black board member. That feels like a real thing.
Yeah.
It feels like a real, that's celebration worthy, right?
It is
For
celebration
IBM?
worthy.
Why aren't they out there putting out press releases?
This is how talented she had to be, by the way. She had to be topper. She graduated first in her class from George Washington University Law School.
Obviously.
She then became a corporate lawyer. She was a dean of Howard University School of Law.
Of course.
She was the first black woman to become an ambassador to Luxembourg. An ambassador in general, but she was an ambassador to Luxembourg.
Duh. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm just saying, like, this is how talented you have to be for someone to recognize you. I mean,
meanwhile, Gus, who just literally sold his fourth car at the used Chevy dealer, is going to get offered a board seat at some point in his life. Yeah.
I also want to point out that black women on boards who have already reached out to come onto the podcast, they actually have a new documentary about Harris that premiered 3 days ago at the Tribeca Film Festival called On Board. All right? Right? So this is something to celebrate.
I mean, for us,
hopefully they're not gonna. Nobody ever responds to my emails.
Literally, how come
I'm hoping.
Tribeca Film Festival didn't call us? We're like the only people who would be super excited about this. In general.
In fact, the film premiered in the building that I used to work in for 10 years. So I literally in that building. So I better get a call. That's all I'm gonna say. There you go. That's our history lesson for Juneteenth. The first black woman on any board, on Fortune 500 board. Yeah. Okay.
That's
Patricia Roberts Harris.
Congrats to her. Is she still around? Still alive? Still on board?
Don't make me answer that question.
Watch. I'm gonna you talk. I'm gonna look it up on our platform, which is being shared live right now.
The next thing we did was Matt is on our platform. If you're actually watching the video, this is that really is our platform. So what I did today is I went into our data. That's our board sabermetrics data, and we have diversity data for only the S&P 500 so far, Matt. Is that right?
That's all we have right now. We're looking to expand it, and if you know a guy who's got some data that they're selling under a bridge somewhere, we'll take it.
Yeah, or just partner with us. Give us diversity data, and we'll you can sponsor our show. We'll work something out. Maybe
nice
we'll give you some data
to sponsor our show.
So with this roughly 5,000 directors in the S&P 500, all right,
it is 5,253 directorships. It is actually only 4,581 people.
So that's where my data might be a little wonky.
Yeah.
So I've already
screwed
up.
We have data on 4,581 people who are directors in the S&P 500.
Do you know the percentage?
Data.
Do you happen to know the percentage of black people on the boards of these companies?
You know what? I didn't even bother with that because it's pathetically low, right?
Well, I want to make sure I got this data right. So my data would suggest that 11% of all directorships are held by black people. So it might be, of course, some of those people are holding multiple roles. So
right, exactly.
So it might be a little bit lower. I'm thinking, right? The actual percentage.
Yes. Yeah, you're gonna skew.
And 78% of those roles are held by white directors.
I'm shocked.
And I will say this, that it actually kind of correlates. The U.S. average population of black people is 13%, 11% black directors, although the U.S. average non-Hispanic white population is 59%, and yet 78% of board roles are held by non-Hispanic white people.
Yeah, white people like to have a little extra, a little zhuzh.
How about this? The average influence of these people. The average white director's influence is 10% of the board, 10% influence. Average black influence, 6%. What do you think about that power gap?
Well, I'm going to give you a number here
Yeah.
that cuts into my segment. But
You're already jumping into your segment.
Well, because
I'm not done.
It
But go
gels
ahead.
with what you're talking about.
Go ahead.
Right?
Sure. Go ahead. Gel.
I looked at the breakdown, the percentage of each cohort, like white men, white women, black men, black women, that by their how much influence they have. So, like, what percentage of white men have 5% or less influence? What percentage of white men have less than between 25 and 50% influence?
Yeah. So you're like, I went to like the first 5 minutes of a statistics class in 4th grade. You went to the whole thing in like 11th grade.
I went to the next 13 minutes. Ari went to the whole thing.
Okay.
So
yeah, go ahead.
30% of white men have 5% or less influence. 30% of white men.
30%.
So about a third of white guys
don't have a lot of influence.
Don't have a lot of influence, right? 44% of white women have 5% or less.
Yeah.
So, just having, just identifying woman basically means you're much more likely to get 5% or less influence.
So right there, like a potential quantifiable instance of misogyny, right? In the corporate world. Because what else would you ascribe that to?
And now let's add in racism, because
let's
49% of black men are 5% or less influence. 49%.
Yeah, so roughly half of black men have absolutely no voice in the boardroom.
And then it gets just slightly worse, where 51%, just over half of black women who are on the boards of S&P 500 companies have 5% or less power on those boards. That is a staggering number. That's a staggering number.
And the thing that also struck me too was, because I was just looking at just averages across the board, is that, and we can break it down on our data. Reach out if you need some data. Well, we're going to charge you for the data, but reach out nonetheless. Yeah. We have it broken down by white people, Caucasian,
Hispanic,
black, Middle Eastern, Asian, black.
Asian, yeah.
And black is right at the bottom. So black influence average is 6%, Hispanic 7%, Asian 8%, Middle Eastern 9%, white 10%. What is that? Seriously though.
The numbers are really, really shocking. It also gets shocking when you get up into the higher percent, like concentrations of power. Like between 20 and 50% influence. Basically, you're the CEO or the power broker. 2% of white women on boards land in that category. 1% of black men and 0% of black women. Meanwhile, 12% of white men land in that. If you want to know what like the brown ceiling looks like, to be crass about it, that's what it looks like. It doesn't matter that you've cracked into the board.
Yeah.
If you effectively have no power once you get to the board.
Right.
Then you're just a body count.
And
that's basically where we're at.
Here's where it's extra troubling that they don't have a lot of power, because as far as education is concerned, which is, the cornerstone of our society really here, black people on these boards are more educated. End of story. 46% of these black directors went to an elite school. Only 41% white directors. The same. Matt, 71% of these black directors have advanced degrees. Only 62% white. Right there.
Yeah.
Can't make that up.
In order to get to break into the glass ceiling or the brown ceiling or whatever ceiling you want to break.
Well, I'm just talking about black and white here.
You need to be significantly better.
Like so, which would make you think they'd have more influence, that they'd listen to them even more, because they what they should be thinking is, holy shit, my horrible company let a black person in the room.
No,
That
here's
this
what's
person
happening.
must be incredibly qualified.
No, here's what generally happens, right?
Yeah.
Like, first of all, there's like the on average, your nominating committee chair is a white person, right? Like on average,
Right.
and there's a already like a level of, unspoken, we're doing you a favorism that exists in these corporate boardrooms. Okay, so we brought in like some diversity, like you should be thankful to have gotten this opportunity. I don't think that's something that they say. Like they don't put that in like their inauguration material, like on their onboarding. They're like,
Hmm.
thank us profusely for letting you in here. But I do think there's an unspoken thing. Meanwhile, the people who break into that ceiling, they are then recyclable.
Okay.
Now you end up in a situation, and this is the second stat that I
Yeah.
have,
Go
again,
ahead.
culling from my segment, which will be
Juneteenth
over
Data
before you.
Palooza.
So here's the stat I have.
Yeah.
There are what I call recycle rates of people on boards. So on average, you've got 4,581 people and 5,253 directorships, which means
Hmm.
the average person on an S&P 500 board sits on 1.2 boards, right?
Right.
That's
Because again, the director is the person. The directorship is the seat itself. So
exactly.
a director can have 4 directorships.
So they're getting like 1.2
Right.
directorships per person. Once
Okay.
you've broken into the S&P 500, you're in a bunch of places, right?
Yeah.
Within the S&P 500, these people like all play together. But here's your recycle rates by race and gender, and it's not happy. I'm going to
Hmm.
bury the lead. White men get 1.16 boards per white male. That's
Okay.
actually not that high.
Right.
Hispanic men 1.23,
Hmm.
Asian men 1.14, Middle Eastern men 1.05. They don't get recycled very much at all. Black men 1.35. They are the most recycled men in the
Why?
entire S&P 500.
Why do we think this is?
Why do we think this is? Because once you've broken into the ceiling, then you're already overqualified
Yeah.
compared to the people in the room. But
Hmm.
they've allowed you into the club. Then they're
They
just
feel
trading.
comfortable with you,
Then they're
so they're just
comfortable with
like,
you.
use
They're,
this guy.
you're just getting slotted around on all the other boards. Black men have, of all men on S&P 500 boards, have the
Yeah.
highest recycle rate.
It's
Right?
crazy though. I mean, this stat alone does speak to the sort of the history of our race relations in this country. No, because if you asked me before you revealed this data, I would say that why wouldn't the recyclable rate for Black, Asian, Hispanic, Middle Eastern men, why wouldn't that all be kind of the same number, right? But there is a specific white black relationship in this country over our history that is extra horrible and peculiar.
Well, here's another way to think of this
Yeah.
number. Think of it. It's a list of opportunities, right?
Hmm.
Like white men are much more likely to have an opportunity to get on a board that they don't need to be recycled. As in, we can find plenty of white men that we're comfortable with putting
Yeah.
on boards, right? We just
Right.
put anybody,
Vivek
a white
Ramaswamy
male.
would refer to that as the excellence, the
Yeah,
quantifiable term of
there's
excellence.
plenty of excellence.
If
There's
a
plenty of
white person
excellence.
shows up, we don't up until this point in our corporate history, we don't question their credentials. We only question diverse credentials.
But if you're a black man,
Yeah.
that it means that the opportunity set for you is so much lower to
Right.
break in that once you're in, you're much more likely to be reused over and over again on multiple boards
It also, yeah,
than
to me,
anybody
it also
else.
speaks to 2 other things: is that their reluctance to keep trying to broaden that network. Like I feel like they give up, right, once they have one, and also
Yeah.
what you said before: if the head of your nomination committee is a white man, then that person already, we know that they don't have that network. And again, they too are like, well, I don't, what else am I gonna do? I mean, we already have this one guy, so I don't, what do you want me to do?
And then when you do female, right? White
Yeah.
females 1.22, Hispanic females 1.31. Hispanic females and black males are almost on par.
Right.
Asian females are 1.11,
Lower
less
than
than
white.
white males.
Yeah,
Less
same
than
with
white
the
males.
Asian male, a lower recyclable rate than the white male.
and Middle Eastern females are 1.
So they don't
Basically,
get
there's
recycled.
so few of them, and
Yeah.
they tend to be on companies that are like mostly packed with Middle Eastern people.
Sure.
Generally Israeli. It's actually a lot of
Okay.
Israeli. Black females, once again, the most recycled cohort
Does
overall,
not surprise me, yeah.
1.38. I wonder if Patricia Roberts Harris,
Yeah.
how recycled she was after
Well, she.
breaking that
I can actually.
ceiling.
I can actually tell you because after IBM, she later served on the boards of Scott Paper and Chase Manhattan Bank.
There you go. Recycled twice, right?
Yeah.
Which that is the pattern we see. We see if you are black, you are more likely to, once you break in, you have to be absolutely exceptionally way beyond everybody else already.
Yeah, that's right. It's right here right here in our data. You black people go to a higher percentage of black people go to elite schools and have advanced degrees, right?
Not only that, so you're
Yeah.
already exceptional, but you are likely to get half of the people who get on the boards are likely to have virtually no influence on those boards.
Yeah.
The 5% or less influence. And to top that off, you will get shuffled around. Like every 4, 5, 6 years, some
Right.
other company is going to pick you up because you're a black person on a board and they need your face as a picture in their proxy.
And actually,
It's a sad reality. It makes me
and we-
sad.
and let me talk about that a little bit because there's a potential. What'd you call it? Did you call it a brown
The
ceiling?
brown ceiling, yeah.
There's a potential for a glass cliff scenario here. What would that be? A black cliff?
Oh, wow.
I don't
Wow,
know.
there's a lot of
But here's the interesting thing, because you're talking about these recycled directors, is that on average, once again, according to our performance data, which soon to be on our platform, Board Sabermetrics, on
platform you're
average,
viewing right now, yeah.
black directors are a shade lower in all 5 of the categories that we cover. That's overall, earnings, TSR, carbon, controversy. They're a shade lower, which to me suggests that if they're being recycled, they might be being recycled at companies that are failing potentially, and they need a
Ooh.
We always see this with women, right? But we're probably seeing it with black directors, I'm guessing, because shade across all categories, their performance is a shade lower than their white counterparts.
So, can we wrap up what is the saddest show we've ever done? I feel like
You want to finish, or can I give you one more Juneteenth data palooza?
give me one more sad data point, and then I
Okay.
want to. I'm gonna spend 10 seconds on the platform before we wrap.
To nobody's surprise, here's part of the problem. While they might be more educated, they certainly don't come with more experience. One of the things that we cover in our database is whether or not the director has been a CEO or not. Black directors, 39% of them have been a CEO anywhere. White directors, that number is 60%, quite a bit higher.
Holy moly!
And also, what about this one? This interesting one. We ask if you are, if your influence comes from being a founder, CEO, or like a family member, right?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
9% of white directors. This is So that's basically like a tenth of all. They've come from basically a founder or a family member.
Yeah.
For black directors, 1%, just 1%.
Yeah.
So I'm blaming VC capital for that one.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. If
Give
we
that
make
money
this
to
happen-
black
this doesn't
founders.
This doesn't happen in a vacuum, right?
No.
Like white people tend to get funded at higher rates, particularly if they're white men. Those companies tend to get more latitude because, like we put up with the fact that Adam Newman can basically create a fake company. He makes billions, and then he goes and gets the largest investment ever from Andreessen Horowitz.
Yeah, and this is part. Yeah, and what you're speaking to too is that the reason why that culture sucks, that white broy culture, is that what they're really focusing on is the coolest pitch deck instead of going to the slide where it says, "Oh, wait a minute, these founders are more educated and are probably better suited to run a company."
That's correct. There's not a probabilistic model of, well, this is a very, very smart person who knows a market that I don't know. I'm going to trust them and give them some capital to build something new and unique.
Right.
No, this is a model of
And-
Masayoshi-san thinks they're cool.
Yes, but this is why we spend so much time on these anti-ESG, anti-woke a-holes like Vivek Ramaswamy, is that they have some magical notion of this term excellence, which is really just a shield for racism and misogyny, but they refuse to quantify it. They know a winner when they see a winner, right? They can smell the best cheese from 20 miles away, right?
Oh, well, that's an excellent segue into this. This is what winners look like. I can pull up on this platform. Now, if you're listening on the podcast, you can't see what I'm pulling up, but you've heard us talk about this anyway. I can pull up every director in the S&P 500, and there are performance metrics for their earnings, for their carbon intensity, how good they are at carbon per dollar revenue, TSR. Is there any better measure of excellence for the Vivek Ramaswamis of the world than how much money's demanded in the stock market?
Shareholders are king.
And controversies. You have the 4 easy pillars of performance right here for every director. Now you don't have the shield of excellence to hide behind when you realize the vast majority of directors are average. They're just average.
Yeah.
Get over it, they're average. That's all we got.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
Come on.
It's a lot for,
Happy
the nothing we
Juneteenth.
put together. Happy Juneteenth, everybody. That's Damian Rollis. I'm Matt Muscardi. It's Platform Day here at Free Float. There will be more
Juneteenth.
on social. We're going to send this out over the course of this week. You'll be able to sign up this week. So pay attention. Tell us what you think. And enjoy. You're celebrating Juneteenth with our dour statistics. Until tomorrow.